Okay, I'm going to try Michael Ignatieff's office.
Good afternoon, Opportunities Office. Bonjour.
Hi, I'm phoning with a question regarding financial policy in Canada. I was wondering if there was anybody I could speak with.
Just give me one moment, please. I'll transfer your call. Good afternoon, Scott Brison's office.
Hi, I guess I got transferred. I called Michael Ignatieff's office originally.
Oh, okay.
I had a question regarding financial policy, though. Is Scott Brison the financial critic?
He is the finance critic, yes, and you're speaking to his policy advisor. How can I help you?
I'm phoning because I saw a documentary recently called O Canada, which discusses the Bank of Canada and its history and how it's fallen into disuse in Canada in terms of financing federal infrastructure and provincial things like that. And I was wondering what the Liberal Party's stance under Ignatieff is in regards to going back to using the Bank of Canada for funding in order to try and reduce the interest on our debt, which is getting out of control.
I think I would have to see the documentary itself or look at the transcript because, I mean, the Bank of Canada isn't involved in program spending, like, at all. It never has been. The Bank of Canada sets our monetary policy.
Well, no,
there's good reasons that those decisions are made by the Bank of Canada and not made as political decisions. So
right, no, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that when the government decides, let's say, back in history when we built the Trans-Canada Highway, right? It wasn't the Bank of Canada that decided to build the Trans-Canada Highway. That was obviously a matter of legislation and policy.
Yeah.
But then the financing for the Trans-Canada Highway was done through the Bank of Canada at very low interest charges and a simple interest, not compounded, which makes long-term infrastructure investment possible. Whereas since around the mid-70s, we've stopped going to the Bank of Canada for financing infrastructure and other financing of other government spending, and instead we borrow from private sources, which charge high rates of interest in order to make a profit. And so that's led to our debt in Canada going from $20 billion in the 70s to 500 whatever it is now. Most of our debt in Canada now is interest on the debt. It's not actually principal. So we're not actually.
The flip side of that is that when you treat the Bank of Canada as a monetary printing press, you get inflation. And there are lots of detrimental effects of high and even hyperinflation on the economy.
But this the issue of inflation is not really an issue because the money is still being created. It's being created by private sources, but the money is still being created by someone. The question is
what happens is when central banks, like the Bank of Canada, are used to fund government program spending, what they do is they turn up the printing presses and they print more currency and they issue more currency. And the direct consequence of that is, yes, you have more money in order to finance these government programs, but you also have more inflation.
But are you operating under the assumption that private banks don't create money? Because that's false. Private banks.
I know private banks don't issue currency, like in that same.
They don't print.
Central banks that determine what the.
They don't print currency. No, they don't print it, but they create it in a computer. They create it as numbers in a computer, which is basically the same thing. The money didn't exist. The money did not exist a second ago, and then all of a sudden it exists.
No, private banks don't create the money supply. Central banks do that, and they,
That's a misperception. That's not true.
Yeah.
The banks have a money multiplier.
I agree to disagree on this one.
But do the banks have a money multiplier or no? Do you agree with me on that? Do you know what the money multiplier is?
I think you're confused, sir. I think you're confused.
Okay, so if a bank has $1 million in deposits, it can then loan out, I believe the money multiplier now in Canada is 10 to 1. So it can then loan out $10 million against that $1 million they have in deposit. Did the bank not just create that extra $9 million out of thin air?
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't. So where did it come from?
From assets that are not as liquid as currency.
No, you're saying that it actually exists in the real world, that fractional reserve banking does not create any money out of thin air?
Yes, I'm saying central banks create the money supply, private banks do not. That is exactly what I'm saying.
So all the money that is in the banking system in terms of mortgages, financing to businesses and all that, that's actually money that exists somewhere in real life?
I'm saying that the money supply is determined by the central bank and not private banks.
Well, so why does the government of Canada publish statistics on how much money in circulation is government-created money and how much money is bank-created money? And it says that 95% now in Canada is bank-created money.
You know what, you would have to send me your sources there.
Okay, my sources is Statistics Canada, but yeah, I can send you that.
You would have to send me the document. So I'm at the Scott Brison Assistant 1 account, which is BRISOS0 at parle.gc.ca. Yeah. But I don't have time for an extended debate right now. I have to head out. I've got another meeting.
Sorry, BRISOS0 at?
Yes, at parle.gc.ca.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.